Romania Insider and Ideograf. I would like to invite Volker Moser, who is the co-founder of Romania Insider, to say 2 words to all of us.
Hello, everybody. That was 2 words already. I'm Volker. Thank you, Sandra. Welcome to this first webinar ever for us as a company. We are excited about it and we hope you're going to like it. We have amazing speakers today and an amazing moderator, Sandra Jitianu, who is the owner of Ideograf and our co-host for this event series. Now, when we had the briefing for this with the panelists just half an hour ago, then Crina said, hey, I'm amazed how the world changed in such a short time, and I'm more positive about it. So actually that inspired me a lot, and I think this should be also our motto today, to somehow learn from each other on how we deal in these critical times with business, with people, with us, with our families, and just to share. So that's the idea of this free webinar now. We, as Romania Insider, we're also discussing for 2 years, because we have HR executive learning events physically, and we were discussing, should we do it online? It's too difficult, maybe not. And now within 1 week, we decided to do that, and we have 3 great speakers today. So from my end, there is nothing more than to say thank you, all of you, for joining us. And we are live streaming this as a service on our YouTube channel on Romania-Insider.com. And also today we launched Positive News on Romania, a specific newsletter in these times of crisis. So in case you also want to get positive news, we will also put some links in the chat here. And now I would like to hand over to Sandra.
Great, thanks, Volker. So we're on. Irina just confirmed. I wanted to let you know what kind of people are on this call. We have HR experts, we have entrepreneurs, we have people from Bucharest, from Ploiești, Timișoara, Cluj, Sibiu joining us. We have even somebody from Vienna and from Greece, and somebody from Glasgow and Abu Dhabi. So it's quite international, and we are very happy, and we hope you're gonna enjoy it. Let me now introduce you to our great speakers today. So we have here Crina ILIE, who is a people function leader for Genpact Europe. We have Monika PAL, who is the people manager for Porsche engineering in Romania, and she is based in Cluj. And we have Ionut, who is the HR manager for Orkla Foods in Romania. Orkla Foods, I'm sure you're aware of. They have the brands like Tomila, Bunica, and so on. So thanks a lot for taking time. I know it's a really busy time for all of you, thanks for saying yes. You're going to share with us today your experience with setting up the work from home for your employees. Just one quick question to all of you. What's the most incredible thing that has happened in your company over the past 3 weeks? Would you start, Monika?
Yes, hello everybody. It's the fact that now everybody, no exception, is working from home, and we have adapted extremely quickly. So we've had home office, of course, in a limited number of days per month already implemented in the company. But in the last 3 weeks, we have adapted and changed to being able to give this to everybody due to, of course, external situation. And yeah, it's amazing that we have each day new challenges, and we are able to overcome them without bragging about small things that maybe in different situations would have been a big deal to deal with.
Mm-hmm. Good, congratulations, 100% of people remotely, that's a feat. Crina, I know you have a lot of people, and this is an industry where 3 weeks or 4 weeks ago, nobody would have believed that it's possible, and nobody would have agreed to even think that it's possible. So let us know how you do.
Yeah, I think, to your point, a lot of our professional industry is based on actually redistributing work globally from one place to another, or was until recently in this manner. Who knows how this industry will be redesigned at the end of this journey? So I'm very curious and optimistic to see how this will change. We are also happily having all our European employees in work from home since last weekend. So we've been already operating for 1 week in this part. But to add on, besides this huge change, I would say that what I'm experiencing is a huge wind of empathy and care. So different people in different situations will have their own way in which they cope with this change, which is so unexpected and so fast. And I'm really touched by the wave of empathy and care, which is actually coming up across from all angles. So that's for me the learning.
Thank you, Crina. Ionut.
Yeah, hello. Just a brief introduction about Orkla, just because we are a food company in Romania, but basically the group is larger than just food. At international level, we have 10,000 employees still working in production lines, and we are focusing on maintaining production, especially in food industry. Locally, we have like 350 people working in 3 production sites. But we managed to make a nice mix between people working from home. All office workers are now working from their homes. And we even managed to have all logistics, let's say, specialists still working from home, and it can be done also. So the most amazing thing is that we overcome all the, let's say, trust barriers of managers that now they have to work with their teams home, and they have to work remotely. And we have been discussing for quite a while to introduce work from home and how to do it. And now we were forced to do it. And now we will find, and we found also all the procedures and let's say the working routines to make it happen. So
reality happened before we were prepared. Yeah.
So this is the most amazing thing. Sometimes you need just to do it. And things will, of course, can be solved.
Yes, thank you, Ionut. For our attendees, so you see at the bottom of the page a Q&A panel. Please feel free to add any questions, and we will have Volker looking into the questions, and as soon as we have finished the panel discussion, we will start reading out your questions so that our panelists can answer you, okay? So don't hold back, write your questions in the Q&A panel. Thanks a lot. Okay, so we are going to do a poll, but later on, just a heads up for you. I want to see how many of our attendees had any workforce working from home 3 weeks ago, and how many, what percentage of the workforce is remote now. So we're going to share the results live. Stay tuned. We're going to do this a bit later. But coming back to our questions now. Crina, could you explain to us what steps did you take to organize this work from home? What did you do first? What did you do second? Give us a short overview of how you did that.
Yeah. So I think, first of all, I would like to say that we were extremely lucky. And luck at times is important in business, and this is because Genpact is a global company having operations abroad. So obviously, we also had operations in China, and we were able to see and follow what our colleagues were doing there already since mid-January. 3 things which I would like to share with this team. We started very early. I was actually looking before this call, our first management committee in Europe to actually prepare for this was on the 24th of February.
So you were really quickly to react.
We were very quickly to react, and the reason is that we run an international workforce and in an international operation. Obviously, we started by containing and thoroughly monitoring the flights of our colleagues who are doing on-site consulting jobs in different sites, right? So that was first. but we very quickly actually moved into preventive measures for all the employees who are coming in the centers, although in those countries we didn't have yet cases, such as temperature screening for entire sites, all these special measures for sanitization, providing sanitizers on the floors. All those things were actually done in the first week of April. Mm-hmm. We're believing, and I think some of us in the first week of March. I think even some of us were believing at that time that we are exaggerating a little bit, but at least in Romania, the government took the decision to close schools on 11. That was the second stage where we were actually attempting to prepare for the news. So, the scenario was, I will never forget, I can write now a book. The scenario was, what happens if I'm getting a call like the HR lead that, one of our employees is confirmed, right? So that was the question. And then we realized we are not prepared to actually, go into a large center. We are all, like many of you, for sure, operating centers with 3,000 people. So how do you manage such a news, which is not a normal fire drill or earthquake situation, right?
So tell us how you did it. Give us 3 things that you did, or 5 things, or whatever, the most important ones.
I still have to digest. What I can tell you is that we actually prepared 1 week for doing a mock evacuation drill for a large building, and we did a toolkit. So we actually wrote down how we will be doing it, and we did it in our largest site in Europe. On a Friday afternoon, actually informing everyone that we are preparing you for what's worst to come. And we took a floor, and then we went into the entire building. We sent everyone home, and with one team we also tested work from home, even with that scenario. So that was the second part. As I said, we were extremely lucky. We started on 24th of February, and by 11th of March we were already having the toolkit in place, how we will be addressing workforce, the crisis workforce, regionally and globally, communication specs ready, which will be going out to employees, customers, stakeholders. So a lot of investment in that preparation. But I can tell you, I think we never thought that we will be actually doing what we started to do 10 years back, which means really preparing for full work from home, which is the second challenge, because I think none of the companies really globally had full VPN for everyone, full laptops for everyone, and the other things which actually go with it. So it was a marathon. We are having 7,000 employees across Europe. So touch wood, everything is now in place. But these were the big steps. Initially, putting in place the common team, the command team very early, then containing travel and doing the temperature screening, and actually more or less containing who comes in the office and restricting this very thoroughly and much earlier than anyone else, and then gradually moving into total work from home status, which is now the case. And I would say the beauty is yet to come, because since then we already had virtual exits, virtual onboarding, virtual training, and we are preparing. I think we are also having the first virtual engagement activities, which our employees are doing themselves. My favorite one is a photo contest of your work from home selfie, which one of the teams just started. So, really, really curious how this new reality will unfold for us.
Cool. So that's a great idea, people. I've already written it down. Maybe you also want to check out and pick some good ideas that come up here during the discussion. One more question for Crina, and then I will pass to the other panelists. So for Genpact, which is a contact center, of course, it's very important what you do with your employees, but unless your customers agree, you cannot do it. So tell us please very shortly how you managed to convince your customers. How did you do that?
First of all, we are not a contact center, so we are in the professional industry business. We do consulting and finance, procurement services. We are actually, just as you gave me this opportunity, we are crucial for many industries. Our employees globally ensure that food is still produced, because we are actually partners with big companies taking care of their supply chain, ensuring that their transports are scheduled well, ensuring that their bills are getting paid and the light is still on in business. So we are in a crucial business. We are not in the contact
You're
center.
in a crucial business. Sorry, sorry about that. Of course, I know we've worked together and I know perfectly well. But tell me, how did you manage to convince your customers?
It was a journey. It was a journey, and it was orchestrated between the local and the global teams. I think, what I can tell you, and I'm sure my colleagues will say the same, this new reality shifted for sure all companies' focus from customer first to employee first. So what I want to say is that irrespective what would have been the customer decision, we would have been going to work from home anyway, because our motto was from the first day, employee safety first. This means, for example, that even back there at the beginning of the month, we could say for certain customers who wanted to visit us, please don't come. Or if you come, be aware, if you have temperature, you will not be allowed to enter into the center. So, I think this piece of employee first is what guided us. And obviously then, as per each and every contractual agreement with the customers, there were formal steps to be followed. There were customers which, maybe they were reluctant towards the end, or there are customers with whom we coexist. We are actually having employees on the same sites with them, and maybe they were not as fast as us, but we were, I think, sticking to the rules of actually ensuring employee safety first. So this means that there was a degree and a pacing of several actions in several jurisdictions and geographies. And, once again, I'm repeating what I said, we would have been anyhow pushing for this, even if this would mean their acceptance would come later. I believe nowadays there is no customer who would say, I'm not in agreement. On the contrary, everyone will demand, do this, please.
Yes. Thank you, Crina. Going to Monika, please tell us how you did. What did you do first? What did you do second? Let's help our attendees understand how you proceeded.
Okay. I can admit that there was no waterfall process. So it was not first, second, third. There were many things, and there are still many things running in parallel. So what is very, very important for us, and was very important, is to be careful and be guided by the safety and the security of our employees. So this was the first thing that everybody was thinking about, talking to the management team, setting up the task force, as Crina also mentioned. This was, again, a very, very early step. We are also talking about last week of February, the first discussions. So same luck, we have a location in China, also maybe a short introduction in order to give an overview about Porsche Engineering. So we are an engineering service provider, and our company in Cluj, with now above 200 employees, is covering mainly software engineering services. So we are in software development, software testing. So this was also, let's say, another part of our lucky situation that most IT guys and girls are used to working remotely, or at least tried it in former companies. So the other part of the lucky situation was that we are also following what our colleagues from China were doing. Our Shanghai office was, of course, hit, and they had to close. So we didn't wait to be taken by surprise, all in all. And I was mentioning that there were many steps in parallel because everything happened so quickly. We couldn't afford just having a clear 1, 2, 3, 4 step and doing them one after the other. We just made sure that we, inside the management team, distribute responsibility. And we are also very lucky to have an extremely visionary and quick CEO. So he made sure that we all know what to do, both on department level and on company level. If we speak about operational things, we just did a list of action points that everybody needs to do to make sure that we can give our employees the possibility to work from home, all our employees. And we just adapted daily. We just remained in contact. We just checked the status of each action. And in the meantime, what we also did is to get aligned with the company, so the group company, which means headquarters in Germany. Since we are part of a big group, which is Porsche AG and then Volkswagen Group, we also made sure that we have all the communication steps cascaded from the group level. And in the meantime, some steps done faster maybe than on group level due to local needs. So
tell us, speaking of local needs, tell us about what was typical for Romania, or things that you didn't find where to get inspired from the group. Specifics.
Nothing specific, so I wouldn't say that there were things that were missing, but you know, the reality of our health system is a little bit different from the other locations that we have, and we are talking about Shanghai and we are talking about Stuttgart as or near Stuttgart locations. So we really took into consideration the fact that we cannot afford waiting, and that this situation will come to us as well. So we need to be prepared quicker in some situations. So just to follow the storyline, it was next banning and reducing first all the travels, then banning the travel. So there was no travel since beginning of March. And in the meantime, making sure that we are fully compliant with all the group policies and all the local regulations, because we all know that there have been many changes in the recent days. So as I mentioned, many steps running in parallel without forgetting about the safety and the security of our employees. So we even, when we saw that there were maybe some colleagues reluctant to start working from home, but they were feeling sick and, you know, wanted, like we are in Romania, wanted to show that they are still there and working, we made sure that we have a very good communication with them and, you know, comfort them that it's okay to go and work from home, and we will do this step by step for everybody. So a lot of communication, both written, oral communication from the management team, also in the teams, a lot of HR support. So our role, it's usually not operational, but this time it was even more not so operational. It was a lot discussing with colleagues, getting inputs, getting suggestions, feedbacks, and adapting all the steps that we were doing daily. So I personally do not believe that there is one size fits all in terms of work from home. And we just did our best to fit it to our specific situation as much as possible and to constantly adapt. So I wouldn't say it's a receipt, but being quick and being capable to foresee some things and being very aware that those things can also happen to you I think are the most important parts.
Cool. Thank you, Monika.
Thank you.
What were the biggest challenges that you had in Orkla Foods?
Well, as I mentioned earlier, we have still people going in production lines to assure that our food is still produced. We have people in the field sales that are going into the stores, in the modern retailers especially, but not only. And their role right now is to make sure that the shelves are filled with goods and to address any out of stock issues that might happen. And of course, the third part is the one that we are talking about is the employees working from home. So basically, the challenge was especially to decide who will still be on the field and who will still work from home. Of course, that we wanted to have everybody to stay at home, but still we have an obligation and a responsibility towards our customers and our consumers. So basically what we have done is divided people in three categories. So work from home, it was the easiest part of all, just because we made sure that they have all the tools, laptops, internet connection, and all document sharing applications. And this is for a multinational company, it's easy to do because we have a lot of instruments and we are used to work collaboratively in, I don't know, software like Teams, Skype, and so on and so forth. Then it was another challenge from work from home was for customer service, because they were working in taking orders from the retailers and so on. And they usually work in big screens just because their interface is quite big. So for them, it was a matter of getting used to work on a laptop back home, but they managed to do it rather quickly. And of course, aligning the schedule, working schedule for the ones going in the field, because one of the first decisions was that they will go into the stores when people are not there, usually during the night or early in the morning, just to avoid contact with a lot of people.
Okay. Thank you, Ionut. Very practical things to do, and probably one doesn't think of them unless they are faced to do that tomorrow. Tell me, please, how did you prepare your employees for this transition? Did you give them any short, quick trainings, or how did you get them be able to work in this new setup? Anybody who wants to answer first.
I will jump in. I think I was fast in unmuting here. So okay. As I mentioned, we were communicating a lot. So there was nobody taken by surprise by any of the steps that we took. There was no formal training for that. So it was mainly discussing and removing impediments on the spot, discussing with each team member, with each small team, what to do. What we also did is we set up a common team goal. So it's quite usual to have team objective for each of them, but we made sure that this is the case for everybody and highlighted something like team objectives are your first priority in the upcoming period. So just to underline the idea of common goal and the fact that we are in this together. So this was, let's say, from an operational point of view. And also what we did, we made sure that we have from the beginning daily discussions set up between manager and the team. We have even HR check-ins, seeing how people are doing. And we also made sure to have a clear contact person for let's say first for policies and procedures, if any questions in terms of HR admin, and then a contact person for any other topics that might come up from the individuals.
So what you're telling me with the HR check-ins, you're just giving calls every day to a couple of people and see how they're doing, or how did you organize that?
Mm-hmm. This is in plan to have it also organized. What we did is just being in contact with the people that we would have been in contact also usually in the business, and checking if everything is clear or just answering queries that were coming in directly. So acting also as a little bit of front desk for all the small problems and let's say questions that came up in terms of understanding what is happening to us and understanding the policy itself.
Thank you, Monika. Crina, I know you've been preparing for quite a long time for being remotable, let's say. Were there any special steps that you did after sending people in work from home to get them ready, or some special things that you thought of?
I'm not sure whether they are special, and I believe this is still work in progress. We just realized during this change certain things which are much more difficult to be done remotely.
Like what?
For example, the most difficult piece is the tacit knowledge. When you have a new joiner who is actually coming into a team, those exceptions or the induction of a new joiner, you know, is for sociologists, they will explain to us how they are actually picking it from the tribe, from the group, much faster than you do it through the virtual environment, right? So our focus was, you know, as we were moving, and this still is, as we are moving into this model, to ensure that those who are not yet what we are calling independently productive, right? Those who are still either learning the company or the process or the team, they are receiving the attention in a personalized manner. So that's obviously something which we had to think through, and it's yet to finalize, in the sense of how you will create that sense of belonging for someone who may be joined on, I don't know, 21st of March and never seen his place in Genpact yet, because everything was done fully remote, right? So that's, I think, a huge change. One of our countries did already a full day remote induction. So they actually moved immediately whatever they were doing as the one-day induction for the employees remotely, because they had a significant number of employees joining. And so far the feedback is great. Obviously, we had to do many things very differently versus how it was when we were welcoming them in our centers. And I would say the other piece which social distancing is bringing actually two more. And one is an area for which I would also like to find ideas for the participants, because this is a learning session, I hope not only for them, but also for us. So I'm curious of any best practice which you are sharing in your organization for parents who have young kids. And because we have work from home solution, they can't apply for the social aid from the state. So if any of you guys have any smart ideas besides, you know, splitting their schedule and maybe giving them flexibility to arrange childcare and job, I'm really happy to hear best practices. So that's one. And also for voice processes, Ionut, you also mentioned you have these things which are done maybe over the phone, right? So how are you helping your employees to find that those spaces in your home which you never knew that they exist, where you can quietly work? And how do you arrange the entire family dynamic without being intrusive to the family space, right? So that's, I think, another big one which we are yet to discover. And for me, the big question is, you know, leadership and team spirit. I actually have a long list of words which I believe they will have a very different definition in 3 months from now. Office, team, leadership. All these things will have a different definition.
So please, people who are on this webinar, just drop some ideas in the chat there. We can go through them at the end if we still have time. Perfect. Let me see. Ionut, you told us. Did you tell us
about how did we prepare?
About the challenges you did?
Yeah,
yes.
Challenges. What we did just to cope with this change that came over the night was that we introduced a daily routine for all the teams, and all the managers are working in such a routine, just because for us it's not usual business. We also had to cut a lot of projects and priorities and to rearrange what we have to do right now. For instance, the most, I don't know, important process like the forecast of selling products and producing products, which now is not anymore valid. Yeah, thank you. So we had to concentrate on making this change on the way to go. So basically, I think a good idea is to first of all is to keep the same schedule as working in the office, because this is also a daily routine for each individual. And then a daily routine on how to connect with the team, having, I don't know, morning coffee calls, having daily updates, and so on. And yeah, we are using video calls just to see each other and interact. Yeah, and that's also for us work in progress, because sometimes we see that there are too many things put on the agenda for 1 day or 2 days, and then you need to I don't know, take the foot off the gas and the acceleration and focus only on priorities. So yeah, that's a key learning for us.
Cool, thank you, Ionut. Some ideas are already coming into the chat. Please, guys, write your questions into the Q&A panel so it's easier for us to follow. Volker, please, you have a question.
I actually would like to ask a few questions from participants that started to ask us via Zoom, but also via other channels. So one question would be for Ionut. You already mentioned that it was tough with the fear, let's say, as you are a production company. Now there's a question from an HR manager in a production company. He actually is asking you, how did you select who is going to work? Did you do that based on the business critical roles, or did you have another way of communication? That would be one question to Ionut. And then there are other questions in the chat. I suggest I'm asking the question now, and also some ideas I will share later on, as Crina actually asked the participants also to share some ideas. But there's another question in the chat about leadership during this time, and that's a question to, I guess, all the participants. What do you think each of you are the main 3 important things that a leader should do right now? If you really try to summarize it very briefly, the 3 important things. So those would be the questions from me so far to you.
Okay, let's take them one by one. Ionut, with the production company, how did you choose?
So basically, it was easy to choose all the roles that can work through a laptop. They were sent home, even though they were from production, but from production side, there were only a couple of them. Just because our production sites are, let's say, independent, and all the administrative support functions are in Bucharest. One idea for a production line for sure is to split the shifts. So, and inside the shift to split people working in an area, just to make sure in case of a positive case, you don't have too many first contacts. Just because you also need to make sure that you expose people as much as little as possible.
Thank you. So 3 things that the leadership should do. A question from Madalina Radulescu. Who starts? Crina?
I'm trying to distill 3 things. It's difficult. I would say the first one is be on the battlefield. We had some moments where, during this journey, some of the teams got afraid. And in most of the cases, it was because their leader was maybe somewhere else, just by the design. So I think being in the middle of your people is important. And I'm hearing actually my leaders telling me after 1 week of work from home that they feel they are now much closer to the teams, because it's this virtual environment forces us, like Ionut was saying, to be structured. So we need to actually have few routines. You don't escape anymore, just going on the hallways or actually doing your regular floor walks. So presence, I would say, it's one. And the second is communicate. And that's, I can't emphasize this enough. We have now also a company-wide emergency app, similar to, I'm sure there are many companies who have that, who can actually help people to report that they are safe. We are also having a way in which emergency messages and different type of messages are showed, but we are also using this platform to actually put small videos each and every second day. Our CEO is putting 3, 4, 5 minutes of videos, sharing his thought process and views on the process. In my mind, that's a huge one, the communication part. And in time of change, people typically need leaders who can at least give a little bit of sense of predictability, because we are not speaking now necessarily about certainty. I think we are all hungry for what's predictable, what can I rely on. And I think we need strong leaders who can in a wise manner master expectation and panic management.
Thank you, Crina. Very useful ideas, and the short videos, I think it's an easy one to do, and it's hugely impactful. Moni.
Oh, it's a long list, actually.
Give us the top 3 that you have.
Leadership is right now, I think, the cornerstone of everything that we are doing, no matter the policies and so on. But in the same time, I think that it should be combined with lots of management topics. So first, to start with the leadership, I think the most important is to have full trust and really give the responsibility to your team members. Try not to control, try to trust that they will deliver, and judge the results. Do not time track. On the other hand, it's very important to delegate responsibility and to make it very clear who is responsible for what. So, because you know that we are not anymore, as you said, on the hallways or in the office, to be able to just shortly check the status. It's crucial to make everybody understand who is doing what, and to avoid also double work, which can happen due to the fact that the colleagues are not checking the status directly face to face. So coming back to leadership, also communication, as I mentioned in my previous answers, but like honest communication. From my point of view, it's extremely important that you put yourself in the shoes of your team, in the shoes of each individual, because right now with the crisis situation, we are in similar shoes. So if you can truly relate to their feelings and listen to them and compassionately understand their needs, this is extremely important in terms of leadership and connection to the people right now.
Thank you, Monika. Ionut, would you add any 3? Just give us 3 short words.
Yeah, I think that one of the most important behaviors is that try to focus people also on the future. Because during this crisis time, bombarded with all this bad news about people being infected, number of deaths, and so on. And that psychologists start telling us that we are working from home and depression is rising. So it's important to put a flag over the next years. And focus people to think also on the future by bringing new ideas about how to transform the business, because that's a certainty. All the businesses will be transformed after this crisis on a certain degree, could be little or even as 100%. And then I'm also emphasizing on focus on priorities. So also you can find different, especially in our part of Europe, when leaders are faced with crisis time, sometimes they are taking all the power back to them and decisions. So it's important to keep that only for important things, like how to communicate outside the company and what to say outside. What are major decisions on the business side, and then the others should be delegated as down as possible within the company, just because you will bring a lot of innovations and ideas from people. Yeah.
Thanks a lot. You also talked about concerns. I have a short poll for everybody attending, including the panelists. I'm launching it right now. Please tell me if you can see it on the screen. Can you see it on the screen?
Yes.
Okay, so please, during the next minute, you can check as many concerns as you wish, and we will share the results live. So what are you concerned as HR experts with security, with productivity of the team, with keeping people engaged, with morale, new ways of working, access to company documents? Because not everybody is prepared and some might have, yes, security related concerns here. Other IT problems related to remote work. Communications within the team, communication among the teams. So please mark it. I see people are still voting. We have 22 people who voted. Okay, I'll give you a couple of more seconds and I'm going to share the results. Okay, so let's see what your responses are. Most of the people say that keeping employees engaged, this is going to be the main concern. And on the second place, it's employee morale. I was talking to Ionut yesterday while preparing for this webinar. He said more than morale, maybe even mental health, because people are really stressed, many of them, and it might be an issue. Thanks a lot for sharing. Coming back to the questions for our panelists. I will stop sharing the results. Yes, tell me please, what is your expectation for the future regarding work from home? Will more companies stay with work from home? How many people will be able to work from home? What's your, if you're looking into the glass bowl, what would you say to me?
I would dare to dream big, and I think we are probably experiencing and being gifted to live the largest transformation in the way work gets done. I think we will redefine all notions, including what work means. So I would not limit on work from home. I think this is just a technicality. You know, all the futuristic work which is on gig force and on actually, you know, allowing to people to do what they want at the right place at the right time with the right cost for the right reason. I think this is the future which I'm dreaming of. So as I said, I'm more positive. It may be a slower change, but certainly we will define many things, and certainly the business environment is actually very much shaken into a lot of beliefs or a lot of old way in which we were continuing to operate, although all these opportunities were here under our nose, let's put it like that, right? So
yes, and now they just become visible and touchable, let's say so.
Yeah.
Thanks, Crina. Ionut, how do you see future of the workforce?
Yeah, for sure it will be changed. We will increase the number of people working from home or remote work, just actually. I don't see that we will have that high increase of people compared to before crisis. But that depends on how much the crisis will stay on. And just because changing old habits takes a lot of time and energy. Of course, that we will see that managers, especially in Romania, they will have more trust to have this solution. And it's basically for people working in Romanian companies and so on. Because in multinational companies, people are getting more and more used to having this kind of option, working from remote working.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, that I think that this crisis will help us focus more on priorities and what really matters for us as people and also for businesses. And we will lose a lot of processes and things that we are doing right now, but are not actually bringing value.
Yes, thanks a lot, Ionut. Monika, how do you see it?
For sure, lots of myths will be busted in terms of working from home. I think lots of industries will now discover that it's not impossible to make work flexible and to work from anywhere, not just from home. And I'm mentioning this since we are working in automotive industry, and of course, it's an industry where some of the things cannot be done from home, but with this situation, we will discover more and more types of jobs and things that can be done also remotely. Also, for sure, there will be a bigger emphasis on digital processes. So we will make sure that we have very few processes remaining which are not digitalized, and even in our Romanian environment where you have to have signed papers, we will have to find a way to do this also remotely. And hopefully it will be a wake-up call also for the authorities to understand that we really need that, and it can be the same compliance and the same way of working without having to move papers from one side to the other. I think also to move to a more soft side of it, people, so caring for people and their well-being will be even more in focus for many of the companies. So I'm really lucky to work for a company with extremely good values and people-centric. But I think even we will be focusing more and more on taking care about the employees and being concerned about their well-being and taking all the things into consideration that we didn't even have in focus. So as Ionut mentioned, priorities, we will discover even new priorities from my point of view.
Thanks a lot, Monika. Before going to the next question that Volker has prepared, I would like to ask you to vote. Can you see my screen? So what percentage of your workforce worked from home before the crisis? Because afterwards we'll check how many work now.
We cannot see your screen.
Sorry?
We cannot see your screen.
Okay, if you
Not
cannot
yet.
see my screen, too bad. We're going to... So nobody sees the screen, right?
No.
Okay, I'm jumping over that. Next time, maybe. Volker, please ask the question if you may.
Actually, I have a few comments from the community regarding some ideas. There were some, Julia said, we have introduced virtual coffee breaks and video cameras everywhere. So that is one thing that has been introduced here from a participant. And Simona just mentioned that regarding leadership, a recommendation for her, leadership from home as a term means to empower your people, encourage taking responsibility, and to offer continuous support, and to not forget recognition and rewards by sharing success stories. So that's that was a comment from Simona. And there were a few other questions. Maybe I'm going to try to align them. Corina actually asked, first of all, about business contingency plans under this work from home scenario, if you have them in place already within your companies. And there was another question from a community member regarding mental health support, and if you as companies offer actually therapy, and what your opinion is about that in these times. So Sandra, do you want to take over here?
Yes, Irina, if you can launch the poll, please. Because I think it's really interesting to see how many people really let their workforce work from home or remotely. Okay, people, can you see the screen? Yes, we have one vote already. The question is how many worked before the crisis, okay? Before the crisis. Okay. Half of the attendees already voted. I will let you 30 more seconds. Okay, 28 people voted. And I'm going to share the numbers. So before we had the crisis, it was below 10%, most of the people. Okay, interesting. And let's, Irina, could you please launch the poll number 1 so we see what the situation is right now and how it changed in just 3 weeks. I just read the other day that even the National Bank of Romania, who had 0 employees working remotely 2 weeks ago, now has 50% of them. Even the security is, as you know, probably the strongest. Okay, Irina, could we see number 1, please, the poll? I cannot see it on the screen. Can anybody from you see it on the screen? No.
No.
Okay.
Do you want to read it if you can see it?
No, I'm trying to launch it now. Tell me, can you see it?
No.
Now.
No, we cannot see it.
Okay, so I don't have the right.
How about we continue with this question about the business contingency plans?
Yes, we go. So, Crina, will you share with us, please? What are your plans to ensure business continuity in the long run, and what are you planning to do differently or even better so that you're completely happy with how you arrange everything?
I believe we didn't reach there yet. So it's a good question. I actually like this question. I will take it back to my leadership team. What BCP means into the new scenario. I'm lucky again to be in a company which typically had all these cross-training backup structures in place, which even if you are not in the office, you continue to do. But look, we are not yet, I think, in the worst case scenario, which, you know, I myself privately was thinking about. Imagine a world where, you know, touch wood, this will not happen. But for example, those who collect the rubbish are not functioning, or we have a power down supply, or we have internet connection going down. So again, luckily for my company, we have a strategy in between the sites. This is why we operate from different countries, and most of the customers are not only in one place. Mm-hmm. So there is a natural plan, which even today with people at home functions. Did we actually scrutinize the new BCP? I think no. And I think, you know, again, with the new reality, there will be new definition for what means critical stuff and critical activities. So those things are yet to emerge. But thank you for the question. And again, whomever asked the question, if he or she already has some good practices in their company and would be willing to share, we are all here also to learn. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Crina. Monika, your thoughts on that?
Mm-hmm. For sure, we have at least visibility on the local plan, which we are doing as a management team. So it's per department plan and also company-wide plan. But what I know for sure is that there is also a group level plan, which is constantly adapted to current changes. So yes, there are people caring about how to continue business both on short term and long term, but there are lots of question marks and things that need to be done in order to adapt to each situation. So I wouldn't say that we are perfect in having this plan, but there is a lot of visibility and awareness on the actions that we need to do short and long term.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And Ionut?
So basically, as a multinational company, we also had this process in our processes. However, to be frankly, it was sometimes like, okay, let's just do this continuity plan. Nobody thought about having this pandemic case, put it in the business continuity. But what we have done is that having this structure coming from the group, we started to think about what are the key processes and what will be the worst case scenarios and how we can cope with that. And it's also a subject within the management team, but also in all the departments which are critical, starting from procurement, ending up to logistics and sales. So we defined critical, let's say, critical processes. And what we are doing right now is having backup scenarios. It's still work in progress because it's still a lot of things to think about and to plan. And we are facing even today different suppliers that are shutting down their businesses and they are not providing us, for instance, packaging or other stuff that we need. So yeah, it's like a VUCA environment, and that will for sure focus on top processes and key people and key positions, and having backup plans for each.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so we think about business continuity, of course, but I would like to close this webinar because we should be aware of time with a positive outlook. So tell me, please, each of you, one nice thing, but only one that you saw happening and which surprised you during these last 3 weeks. Crina, I let you start.
I want to share a private one and then a job-related one. The private one is that I see neighbors who maybe never said hello to each other, exchanging phone numbers and actually partnering to, at least in Romania, to minimize their travel to shopping and stuff, which is, it's really a big thing, I would say, for our society first. So that's something which it's really touching. And at a job, I think I learned so many things about my private colleagues, and I'm feeling gifted that they allow us to be in their privacy, right? We are all bringing our work in our homes, and it's nice to see how vulnerability suddenly became a norm, and everyone is so willing to share and be authentic in these times. So these are the two ones which I picked for this week.
Thank you, Crina. Ionut, will you tell us?
Well, we are still focused on managing all the aspects. So what is, let's say, we are feeling right now the frustration of people being home and knowing that most of our colleagues are in frontline, in production or in field sales.
Give us a positive one.
Yeah. That's the positive is that we are supporting them as much as we can do from home, even though we cannot go outside. We are supporting them with everything that they need. So right now we see people or teams, let's say, starting to be more closer. That's one positive thing. And the other thing is that we started a lot of good ideas about the future, about the business, because we have been also negatively impacted by Horeca closing, where we have a line of business there. So right now people are thinking how to transform the business for the future. Yeah. So innovation is rising up.
Cool. And Monika, will you close with a positive outlook?
Yes, I see a lot of solidarity in teams, inside the company, in the community of Cluj. Somehow we have always been involved as Cluj community in many things and contributing to many causes. But right now I can see even more things happening in the community. We are also contributing to this, but I wouldn't like to give examples here because it's something that somehow we are planning and also already doing, and you will most probably hear about it. So since we are an engineering company, we can for sure use our brain power to contribute in this situation, but also let's say the willingness of the people to help. So everybody is asking, both from external environment and internal company environment, how they can help. Mm-hmm. So this is extremely big change, and yeah, I think it will continue. It's a lot of awareness and you know, understanding, as I mentioned before, that we are in similar shoes and we really need each other for being able to pass this situation in a positive manner. So solidarity, and I would also mention extremely fast development, both personally and professionally. So I'm putting down each evening my thoughts about how I have developed or changed during one day, both as professional and as a person. And I can see that I'm developing a lot faster than I was before, adapting and sometimes, yeah, failing fast and adapting to it. And this is something which is extremely positive from my point of view. And teams will also experience this. So team bonding and getting to know each other will happen mostly faster than it was before.
Thanks a lot, Monika, and thank you all three of you for your time and cool insights today. We're drawing to a close, but not before. I'm going to tell you that we are going to continue our series of HR breakfasts. We're moving them online after 1 year of face-to-face meetings. I would like to invite you to drop a line in the chat about what topics you think that would be interesting to discuss in this HR and business owner forum. I can tell you that we are planning now, the next 3 topics will be managing performance remotely. So how do you set objectives? How do you follow up? How do you evaluate progress and so on? Then we will have agile teams, which I think is a very topical aspect to be discussed. And then we will also have team dynamics, exactly what Monika just suggested. So please drop us a line with the topics that you'd like to have discussed, and we will invite speakers and we will have a cool continuation online. Volker, if you would also like to add something at the end.
Yes, my learning was from the last weeks that I think humanity is completely connected, and it's more than ever, it's actually showing right now that we are all connected. So yeah, that's what it's just makes it so obvious for me. And I'm extremely proud for our team that we informed Romania about objective and reliable news. And yeah, so it seems we have an important mission right now to somehow do a good journalism. We doubled our readership last month. We now switched events to online. So my personal learning is also that as a team, I mean, I haven't felt that spirit and fire in the last 2 years, and I'm super positive in general about it. So some of you mentioned it before, all of a sudden things move because you need to move them, but I love also the team spirit and the dynamics right now. And from my end, thank you guys so much for contributing to this, and specifically to you, Sandra, for organizing all of it together with the team. Thank you so much.
Guys, don't forget to click to have a subscription to find out what we're going to talk about. There is a link in the chat. It's called subscribe here. So give us your name, give us your email, and you'll be informed with whatever we're planning next. Thanks a lot, everybody, and see you next time. Drop us a line, anything you want to discuss. Talk to you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Crina.
Bye.
Thank you, Moni. Thank you, Ionut.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.